Okay, hello everyone. Let me just get rid of that right there. Hello everyone, it is Suki, and we just got done with the opening keynote for the fan festival in Tokyo. And as you can see, we have some new stuff to look at as well. We have the full trailer for Shadowbringers. Got a little bit of there's a lot of scenes that we saw already in the teaser trailers before that just kind of get like an extra, like just a couple seconds or a few extra frames, which is pretty cool. And obviously we get a um couple new areas revealed to us. We get the new job reveal in it as well. And yeah, there's a lot to go through. So you know what? Let's just watch the trailer again, because the first time I watched it, actually the audio was out of sync because I was watching the JP Twitch stream first before I went and looked at the let's restart it, and went and looked at the English one that Koji was translating for. So we're gonna just watch this, and we're hopefully it's not gonna be loud. Obviously, the music is amazing. We finally got some lyrics to the Shadowbringers theme, so that's a real treat to listen to. And I just want to watch this again because this is a damn good trailer.
How many years have come and gone since that day? How many years have I waited for this moment?
I've also just realized just now that Xenos only has one of his swords.
Alone against the storm. For the one they called the Warrior of Light.
Oh man, Soken is so amazing.
What sayest thou, Master Matoya? We may accept this fate or defy it, but we cannot deny it.
Deny? I am not wont to run from my troubles.
Extra shot there. They actually talked that the full trailer just got finished like 2 days ago, which is hilarious.
Until our friend returns, I will hold the line.
New shot of one of the new cities. I believe they said this is called Yulmore.
This town certainly has changed, and not at all for the better. I'm not going anywhere. I promise you, Minfilia.
And here's another city they showed off. I believe they said this one was Norvant. Got the crystal tower in the center there. And of course the new job confirmed as dancer.
This tragedy, greater even than the seventh umbral calamity, must be undone. If history must be unwritten, let it be unwritten. Become what you must.
This shot is pretty awesome too.
Become the warrior of darkness.
There we go, we got the full trailer. If there was ever a time to surpass what I consider the peak of the game, Heaven's Word, it's right now. So yeah, there we go. Get your pre-orders in if you haven't already. I think they've already given out the Aetheryte earrings as well. So that's cool. Let's go back to this. Actually, you know what? There's actually a couple points that I want to talk about. So we get a few bits of new information from this trailer. We get some spoilers actually on this trailer. We know we're gonna be fighting Xenos in the
How many years have I waited?
in the upcoming patch with on Tuesday. So I guess obviously we're gonna beat him. I guess I feel like after the conclusion of this battle is when we're gonna be called. In fact, we see who's speaking throughout this trailer as well. When we go to Norvant inside the Crystal Tower, it's this person with a crystal hand. I'm presuming this is who's called all the Scions, and I'm also assuming that we're gonna get called at the end of the next bit of story that we have coming up on Tuesday. And we have actually some information on where we're going. We're not actually going to Garlemald, we're going to the First. So if you're a bit rusty on your lore there, Yoshida and Koji also explained this in English as well, explained how that all works. We're gonna go ahead and just mute this, and I guess we can just leave it playing while we're talking a bit. But basically what we play on is the source, and then basically Heidelin breaks into 12 parts, and then we're going to the First, the source being the original, the First being, you know, one of the parts she splits off to. And the warriors of darkness, I guess I should say, that came and confronted us back in Heaven's Word were from the First, I believe, as well. So that's where we're going. And a little interesting thing that they're kind of able to do with this is that it's not time travel. So that's that's good, because that would cause so many problems within an MMO story where you're just allowed to have as much freedom as you do and choose when you choose to do things. But it's going to be like a new area that we can go to. I imagine we could travel back and forth fairly easily. I'm not sure if there's going to be a good story reason for that, but there have been times where we can just kind of exit a very important place to go do other things, even though it doesn't make much sense in the story, like just leaving a boss arena after you've just seen the big build up cutscene toward it. So I imagine we'll be able to travel back and forth, but going to the first, since we play on the source, the first is actually different from us, meaning that there's a lot of the cities, a lot of the enemies, and a lot of the people we meet will be different at the first, which I think is going to be a very interesting. Like, they even had it later in the keynote. They talked about all the how the races actually have different names there. Like, I believe, man, I should have wrote these down actually, but off the top of my head, I believe the Hyrs are the Humes, human. The Mikyote are, I believe, the Mister or something along those lines. The Elezen are the elves, so pretty straightforward there. The Aura, I believe, are like the Darn or the Darms, something like that. The Rogadins are like the Galgent, and then the Lalafell are the dwarves. And the Lalafell are actually, or I guess the dwarves in the first are confirmed to be one of the beast tribes that will be visiting, which is interesting. And they even have homes that are built specifically for their size, meaning that any other race other than a Lalafell can actually enter inside of their homes, which I find to be kind of fun. That'll be really fun to check out. If you are a Lalafell, I guess. But everyone else, we just have to settle for peeking through their windows because apparently they don't have curtains. So yeah, that's actually really interesting. They also showed off, later in this trailer, they show off Yulmore right here. No, that's Y'shtola. Yulmore, and it looks very reminiscent of Limsa. They made mention of how a lot of the areas that we'll be visiting look familiar to us, but they're actually different because they are basically branching points, I guess is the best way to put it. Since we're from the source, basically it breaks off and then diverges into two completely different paths, I guess is the best way of kind of explaining that. So presumably this is an alternate version of Limsa, that I said is Yulmore, I believe is how they pronounce it. And it's basically kind of the people in the center are like all get all the lavish stuff. I believe we get to see some fat Mikyotes. I believe these are Mikyotes, all nice and fat, eating with grapes. Look at that, grapes. Who eats grapes like that, by the way? That's like, do you guys just take grapes by the bunches and just pop them off like with your teeth? Like, who eats grapes like that? I'm going on this really weird tangent. But yeah, that's kind of an alternate version of Limsa. I believe we saw an alternate version of Mordona as well. They called Lakeland. It looks way prettier than Mordona. There's not a bunch of imperial buildings and wastelands and just dirt and tents. There's actually like lots of colorful trees and water everywhere. It looks really nice. I didn't actually take any screenshots. I probably should have. And we also see that Thancred and Minfilia here are actually underneath Yulmore, which is interesting. Which brings me up to another point, since we're on the topic of kind of alternate things. I don't actually think that this is a reincarnated version of Minfilia anymore. I think this is actually the first version of Minfilia, which brings about a whole nother thing, is that if we have alternate versions of places, then why can't we have alternate versions of people? So I have a sneaking suspicion that a lot of the characters we'll meet will actually be alternate versions of the characters we know. So maybe Uriyenger, Y'shtola also being called Matoya is very curious, so that might be a reason, is that she's actually from the first, not the Y'shtola that we know from the source. So that might be an interesting plot point that comes into play later. Moving on to other things, since we talked briefly about the races, and there's actually a new race, kind of. It's a male-only race. They said they were only gonna do one new race, like way back when they announced, or I guess way back when they announced, I guess, Vieira. I don't know why I was blanking on that. When they announced Vieira, they said it was going to be the last playable race that they add to the game, but that's not actually true. Vieira are going to remain female only, but there is going to be a male only race that they're adding to compensate for the fact that Vieira are going to be female only, and that is called the Hrothgar. When Yoshida came out, he wasn't dressed up as a dancer, unfortunately, as amusing as that would have been to see. He was actually wearing like a lion shirt, but it was kind of covered up because he also had on this jacket that was like, it was like a jacket that pertained to haircuts, which I thought was really weird. It was like, that's a really odd choice of fashion there to come out. Is this trying to say something? And the Hrothgar are basically lion people. They're kind of like a mix between a lion, like a Highlander, a Rogadin, and a Miqo'te, I guess. They have the tail, they have the ears, they have the lion face, so they are very much beast people. You know how we got like bunny people now with the Vieira and cat people with the Miqo'te, but they're not actually, they're still very humanoid. They just have some features like the ears and the tails that kind of make them non-human. Well, they're full on, they have like fur and like maws and stuff, so they look really cool. So there's been a lot of people who've been asking to get like a beastie type race like that, not just having ears and tails and stuff like that. So for those people, now you have you now have a race you can play. The Hrothgar, going to be male only. They did say that both Hrothgar, I don't know why that's so hard to say, both Hrothgar and Vieira will have 2 different clans as well, just like every other race does. So that's nice to see. I'm very interested to read up on the lore there. They also said the reason why male Vieira wasn't the thing is, even though they exist, they don't reveal themselves, was their reasoning there. So to keep in line with the lore, they decided to make a whole nother class, which is, I think, pretty cool. Yeah, I'm really excited about that. They talked a little bit about Norvant as well, which we are actually in Norvant. This scene is, we see coming out here. This is Norvant. It's actually very reminiscent of the original 2.0 trailer, I think, as well, that first scene as we're coming in here. It's actually a very pretty looking town. We got to see some screenshots and some development footage inside of Norvant, and it looked really nice. I believe this is called Norvant, and not just the region that the city is based in. But yeah, it's surrounded about the Crystal Tower, and the Crystal Tower itself, since the Crystal Tower that we know in the source was built by the Alligans, this Crystal Tower is different, so it's not gonna have Alligan stuff in it, I guess. So this is gonna be very interesting to see what happens here in this Crystal Tower, and we also get this mysterious character in here as well. So this is Norvant. This is basically, I'm imagining, going to be like maybe our base of operations, I guess, like kind of like how we have Mordona, Idleshire, Rogger's Reach, etc. I think this is going to be like our new base of operations, which sounds pretty cool because it looks really nice in here. I really like it. It's not all dirty like 2.0 Revenant's Toll was, and or basically any start of Idleshire. Idleshire actually looked kind of nice. It was just a little, needed some more buildings and stuff. And Rogger's Reach, there's still a lot of dirt everywhere. I don't know. Rogger's Reach is nice, but it's still very dingy, I think. But other than that, what else did they have? They talked about a bit about the new 8-man raid as well. It's not as an exciting as reveal as when they revealed Yorha Dark Apocalypse, just because there wasn't actually a whole lot revealed about it. All we really got about it was the name, Eden, and Also, we got to know that Tetsuya Nomura is actually designing some things for it. We got to see a character that he designed called Gaia, female character wielding a hammer. I imagine she's gonna probably be one of our allies, kind of like our Mide from Alexander or our Alpha from Omega. I imagine that's the role she's gonna fill, kind of leading us into the new raid. He's also gonna be designing one of the bosses, and that's literally all we know about the new 8-man high-end raid. So yeah, it's not actually that exciting a reveal, but at least we have some information about it. We got to see some new enemies. We got to see the Sin Eaters, which are some new enemies we're going to be fighting in the new areas. We got to see a new Primal, Innocence, as well. Looks pretty menacing. Apparently he's going to play a major part in the story. Probably more so than Titania, I would imagine. But I guess we'll have to see. And then they talked a bit about why we're going to the first in the first place. Basically the first has been consumed by light, and basically the people in the first are kind of just stragglers, or trying to fight against it and basically bring back darkness to balance out the light, because as we kind of found out more than 2 years ago from the Warriors of Darkness who visited us back in 3.4-ish, light isn't all benevolent, and too much light will consume the world and destroy it all the same. So there needs to be a balance there. So that's going to be one of the main focus that draws us into the first, which sounds pretty awesome. And I'm actually really glad that they're taking this direction with it, because that sounds like a very interesting idea to sort of play on the fact that maybe we weren't always on the side of good, we were just on the side that we were on, and that's the side that we chose to fight on, but it's not exactly considered the good side just because it's the light. So very interested to see how that plays into the story. And yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and click off of this because there's actually other stuff to watch. I believe there should be, yeah, here we go. Here's the new beastie race that we get to play. Wow, that's loud. So they're lion people. Yeah, so they're very bulky. Like I said, they're kind of a mix between like a Midlander, or I guess less of a Midlander, more just like a Rogadin with a Mikote, I guess would be the best way of putting it. They also said both the Hrothgar and the Viera will have unique faces, which I think we kind of all assumed that they would. So that means there's a lot of customizable features that you can do with the face, which is exciting as well, in case you're wanting to play one of the new races. I don't know why there's this sort of weird gray filter on this video. I think it was on the Viera video too. Alright, we've already been talking for like 24 minutes. Wow, I ramble way too long. And then finally we can take a look at the Dancer. Obviously, been really excited to see Dancer added to the game. Finally being added to the game. It's so cool. Now, actually, probably, like, I think a lot of us kind of saw the Dancer was coming, but I think the most surprising thing about Dancer's reveal is actually its role. It's a ranged DPS. I think most people were assuming that it was going to be a melee DPS or a healer. And I was actually leaning towards a healer myself, because I would figure that we would get a healer since we were getting a tank. But nope, it's a ranged DPS, which works for me because I already play Bard a lot. So yeah, I'm totally fine with that. So yeah, Dancer is a ranged DPS. I'm very curious to see how they're going to make Dancer play as well. Obviously, since it's filling the ranged DPS role, it's probably not going to be doing a whole lot of DPS itself, but it's going to have a lot of support abilities. They did talk about their dances briefly. They talked to how some dances will affect the party. I imagine there would be a kindness to how Bard songs affect the party. But they only said some of their songs, so I'm kind of curious to see, or some of their songs, some of their dances. Now, when I discussed what I would like to see from Dancer earlier, a couple weeks ago when I did that replying to comments video. I said that I feel like Dancer could go into the direction where it'd be kind of like Monk, where there'd be different steps of the dances, and depending on the step of the dance you're in, depends on what skills you could use. Kind of similar to how Monk is with their forms, with their, you know, Coral, Raptor, Opa forms. Instead, you'd have different steps of the dances, whatever they decided to name it. I don't think they're going to be going with that route. I think they're just going to go with, you got your normal ranged attacks, and then you just have dances that you can use. Probably more similar to Bard, I would imagine, is that you just kind of cycle through dances, and they have different varying effects. So yeah, gonna be really excited to pick up Dancer. I did say, I think when I said when I was ranking my favorite jobs back in Heavensward that when they released Dancer finally, I would switch my main to Dancer. And yeah, I very well might. I mean, I actually mained Bard for a little while at the very start. That's actually the first job that I made was Bard at the very start of A Realm Reborn. But then I switched to White Mage because nobody could freaking heal Titan hard mode. So I was like, fine, I'll do it myself. I switched to White Mage, and I just kind of been a healing basically ever since then, with Bard as kind of my secondary. But maybe that'll flip from now on. Maybe I'll make Dancer and Bard my mains, and then have healers as my secondary, because yeah, I've been really looking forward to Dancer, and Dancer looks pretty cool. And yeah, other than that, there actually isn't a whole lot else. We kind of talked about everything. They're going to be talking more about the world visiting feature, I believe, tomorrow in the live letter. So that will be coming then. I'm not sure if I'm going to actually do a whole video on that, but that sounds interesting to finally know some more information about that feature itself. And yeah, I don't think there's anything else to really talk about. Honestly, there wasn't actually as much hype surrounding this live letter. We got some pretty interesting reveals, and obviously my dream job got announced finally. But looking at it, there wasn't. I feel like most of the inciting information actually already came with the live letter back in Paris. So, but it was really nice to get some of these reveals as well. We got some nice little tidbits to go off on. Basically, a lot of it was just revealing some of the story aspects, revealing some new areas, revealing the new job, and yeah, that's really it. Because the fact is, we didn't get a whole lot of details about what we did get, but I mean, I guess back in Paris, we did only get the name of the Alliance raid, but the fact that it's a crossover event with another popular series kind of brings more hype into it, because we're kind of curious as to see how that's going to play into our world as it is. But the fact that we're getting Eden, and that's all we know about it, not as exciting, I feel. But they're probably going to roll out a lot more details as we move closer and closer to the release date. A few months away. Early access, tentatively still June 28th, with the official release date as July 2nd. So yeah, really looking forward to it. I've managed to talk for half an hour again, so hopefully you enjoyed listening to me ramble on about the new stuff that's becoming. Man, Shadowbringers is going to be awesome. Shadowbringers is really gonna be awesome. Really looking forward to Shadowbringers. I really hope it actually does manage to surpass Heavensward, because Heavensward, in my opinion, was fantastic. I really loved Heavensward, loved the story. I loved how the classes were designed in Heavensward, especially too, which brings up another point. They said in, I believe, late or mid-May, sometime in May at the very least, is when they're going to be talking about all the new changes to the jobs. I know the removal of TP is a very interesting and big thing that needs to be addressed, because yeah, that changes things a bit, doesn't it? I mean, if we think about it now, TP isn't really an issue. Like, the only times TP is an issue is during times when you need to AoE, and when during those times it's a real big problem, because Disciples of Magic have so much more longevity when it comes to AoE damage, and it's really just kind of, it's like, why does Disciples of Magic have so much more longevity when it comes to their AoE damage, when, you know, DPS or I guess Disciple of War AoE damage isn't necessarily better by any means, but you're limited so much more by your TP. So I'm actually very curious, especially how they're going to rebalance AoE skills with the removal of TP, because that's really one of the I guess downer parts of playing a DPS, a physical DPS, in just normal dungeons, is that the way that we pull in dungeons requires a lot of AoE. At least the majority of the time, we're pulling big, we're pulling 2-3 packs at a time and AoEing them all down. That's just how it's been basically, and as a physical DPS, it really sucks to just run out of TP and be unable to do anything. I mean, black mages literally have unlimited TP, or unlimited MP, so they just cast forever if they wanted to. So I'm really curious to see how they're going to change that, but that's still quite a few, quite some time away. Literally a couple months away still. So I'm really looking forward to that as well. So that's sort of pretty much the next major big dump of information I believe is going to come from that live letter in May, when we get to talk about all the job changes that's going to be happening. That's going to be very exciting because yeah, there's some jobs that I really didn't like in Heavensward as much, but I really love now in Stormblood, and there's some jobs I really liked in Heavensward that I don't like so much in Stormblood. So it's going to be interesting to see how that changes and shifts going into Shadowbringers. Maybe I'll absolutely hate Bard in Shadowbringers. Wouldn't that be something? But at least I'll have Dancer, so I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see. But anyways, thank you all for watching and listening to me ramble. I'm going to go ahead and get this video rendering so that we can post it tonight, and then I'll probably go play some more Sekiro because that's been fun. Thank you. We hit 5,000 subscribers not too long ago. I already made a video about that, but I just wanted to say thank you again. And literally looking forward to making Shadowbringers content when it finally releases. One last thing, we are now partnered with Loot Crate, so I'm going to go ahead and leave a link to Loot Crate, and if you use that link in particular and buy something, then it helps support the channel, helps support me, so I'd really appreciate that. And you can also use the code BAKAGAMES to get 10% off your purchase. So really cool that Loot Crate actually reached out to me in particular to get that partnership going. So yeah, I guess somebody's out there sees some potential in me, just like you guys who are subscribed. So that's really cool. It's really cool to know that that is happening. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go get this rendering and uploading, and I'll see you guys in another video. We're gonna be doing the main scenario on Tuesday morning, so be on the lookout for that. I'm really excited to see how Stormblood finally concludes and how it's gonna feed into Shadowbringers itself. Theory still stands that we're gonna get called at the very end, so we'll see when on Tuesday. So yeah, that's coming then. Until then, sayonara, bye bye.